state of Israel. What has happened in the last 11 months, though, is that it has been brought to bear before the entire world. People have finally seen what the Zionist state stands for and what they're capable of doing. As thousands of Palestinian children are slaughtered, women are butchered, and men are killed by all kinds of state-of-the-art weapons. They are butchered with no response, no vigorous response from the so-called civilized world. This is barbarity of the highest order. It is evil, it is wickedness. And I'm glad about one thing, and that is this, that the world has finally come alive to the insensitivity and bestiality of this perverse Zionist state, which claims to be a nation of Jews, but is in fact a nation of plunderers, pillagers, pedophiles, and vicious megalomaniacs, led by a man that I consider to be absolutely evil, Bibi Netanyahu, who has no intention whatsoever, I assure you, of stopping the carnage and the genocide. Rather, he wants to perpetuate it. He wants to continue the occupation. He wants to continue to kill people. He wants to have a greater Israel. He and his Minister of National Security, his Minister for Finance, all of them, we know them. The whole world knows these names, notorious names, which I will now compare to men like Adolf Hitler in the past. That is what has happened. But the good news is that because of the resilience of the Palestinian people, not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, resilient and strong, stood proudly against this tyranny over 75 years and over 11 months of barbarity. Because of that resilience and strength, because they have honor and dignity, they refuse to bow. And they have said, no way. We shall stand as a Palestinian people, and we shall not be suppressed. We shall not be wiped off the face of the earth. And I'm very proud of that. So that is how I feel about it. And I speak for millions, not just in Nigeria, but all over Africa.
لكن سيد فيما عفوا على المقاطعة، هذه الإبادة الجماعية التي تمارسها دولة الاحتلال ضد الشعب الفلسطيني في ظل صمت دولي، وربما الداعم الأكبر لهذه الإبادة الجماعية هي الإدارة الأمريكية الحالية.
Well, let me put it to you like this. The American government has been complicit in this genocide. Not only that, the British government has been complicit, as have the French and a number of others. The governments, yes, but the people on the ground, the majority of people on the ground, I can assure you, particularly in some of these countries, a large percentage of people in America, you see what's happening in their universities now. You see all the marches all over American cities. 5 years ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, nobody would have imagined that virtually every Western capital in the world, that, you know, you have demonstrations by younger people, older people, and even some Jews who are concerned about what the Zionist state is doing. And so the West is coming alive. America is coming alive to the sensitivities of what's going on there. And they're becoming more and more alive to their own responsibilities to the Committee of Nations. A situation whereby the International Court of Justice has ruled that genocide is going on in Gaza, that the ICJ, that is the International Criminal Court, has said they're going to indict Netanyahu and some of his ministers. A situation whereby you have even the Vice President of America, who is running for the president, Kamala Harris. I'm not her greatest fan, but one of the things she said, which really stung me and impressed me, was the fact that she told Netanyahu to his face, and said it on national television, that the barbarity has to stop in Gaza. So America is coming alive, but they have been complicit, and this has to stop.
نعم، الجريمة مستمرة بالرغم من كافة القرارات الأممية، مجلس الأمن والجمعية العامة والجناية الدولية والعدل الدولية، كافة القرارات الدولية التي اتخذت بضرورة وقف العدوان على الشعب الفلسطيني. ولكن إسرائيل غير آبهة، ترفض هذه القرارات بعرض الحائط، وهي مستمرة في عدوانها على الشعب الفلسطيني بالرغم من الموقف الدولي والمؤسسات الدولية التي تنادي بضرورة وقف العدوان على الشعب الفلسطيني. هل إسرائيل فوق القانون؟
Let me put it to you, do you really expect Israel to listen? Do you expect a barbaric state of people that have no regard for human life and that kill children and that relish in shedding human blood and that seek to occupy and destroy and wipe out a whole nation? of people take their land, wipe them out. You killed almost 1 million during the Nakba. Over the last 75 years, you've killed hundreds of thousands more. And in the last 11 months, you've slaughtered so many. Do you believe people like that will ever listen to anybody? Don't think they will. This is going to be a battle to the end. It is a long-term war, a war of attrition, a war of liberation, and it must be fought on all fronts and in many, many ways. On the intellectual plane, the emotional plane, the spiritual plane, the physical plane. We must all collectively fight this war. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. The Palestinians are no longer alone. Christians all over the world, Muslims all over the world, even some Jews all over the world, the Torah Jews, for example, they're opposed to this aggression, and even people that have no religion at all. Listen, there are a number of great movements on this planet over the years, and I can mention a few, where the person that's the tyrant never gives up easily. Don't expect Israel to give up without a fight, but they will lose at the end of the day. The fight against slavery was the first one, where our people in Africa were taken not just to the Middle East, but to the West as slaves, sold as slaves. The fight took centuries. We fought it. The white world also joined us eventually. The Arab world joined us, and slavery was abolished, and we won it. But millions were killed in the process. The next great move, the next great fight, was against colonialism. Again, hundreds of thousands died. 10 million people were killed in Congo alone by the King of Belgium. We fought it in Africa. We fought colonialism and throughout the world. Eventually, the world was liberated from the colonial powers of the West. The third great move was the fight against Nazism. Hitler fought back when the world said no. 50 million people died in that Second World War fighting Nazism. Eventually, Germany crumbled and was divided and was wiped off the face of the earth, and we prevailed. The next one was communism, led by Jews, incidentally, like Trotsky, where millions of Christians were killed in the Soviet Union at the time, slaughtered, and the fight went on and on and on. They didn't give up easily, but eventually, after millions and millions died, we prevailed, and communism was kicked out, and the world was rid of communism. Then, of course, the final one, imperialism, which we're still fighting now. But the one that is current today, you mentioned all these. What is current today is Gaza, and is the Palestinian struggle. The whole world, the whole civilized world, is fighting against what the Jews are doing and what the Zionists are doing in Palestine. And that's the good news about this.
سيد فيمي، ولكن نحن سيد فيمي نحن الشعب الفلسطيني شعب أعزل، لا نمتلك السلاح ولا نمتلك الطائرات أو الصواريخ أو الدبابات. نحن نتعرض لعدوان من البر ومن البحر ومن الجو، من دولة تدعي الديمقراطية وتدعي حقوق الإنسان. عندما تسقط القذائف على رؤوس المواطنين الآمنين النازحين الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم، والآن هم يتعرضون لشكل يومي لإبادة جماعية، عندما تقصف اللاجئ الفلسطينية والنازح الفلسطيني في الخيام وفي ظل صمت دولي. أنت كمحامي، عندما أيضا كونك ناشط سياسي وأيضا محامي، عندما ترفض إسرائيل الالتزام بالقرارات الدولية، ما هو المطلوب من المجتمع الدولي؟
Well, look, there are two ways of looking at this. I can assure you, and I can tell you right now, that if, for example, my people in Nigeria were subjected to the sort of occupation and the sort of tyranny and barbarity that the Palestinians are being subjected to by Israel today, we would have had an unending war. We would have had an unending war. Very few people would have been talking about international resolutions. We would have fought them into the sea and to the end, because it's human nature to do that. And that's one way of resolving this issue, through armed conflict. And you say, well, the other side has all the arms and all the weapons. Yes, but God is still alive. God still exists. I'm a Christian, and I know that God exists. And there are many Muslims that know that God exists. So they may have all the arms in the world. It's only a question of time. It's just a question of time. So there's that aspect of it. People say, oh, you talk about armed struggle. It's just one option when all other options fail. I believe in a peaceful resolution of the crisis, for example. I believe that there should be a two-state solution. As a lawyer, that's a civilized and right way to go. Let the Palestinian people have their own country, sovereign state, and let Israel have its own. But the government of Israel, the people of Israel, 80% of them have rejected that. So what's left? The only thing left, in my view, is to have a situation where the country comes together, both Palestine and Israel come together as one nation, and it is a free country where Palestinians have equal rights and where Israel is now pushed aside and the Jews are a minority within that country. And to get that, you have to fight for it. Now, I'm not advocating armed struggle. I'm just saying it's an option. And when people say, oh, that Hamas is such an evil organization, fine if that is your view. But listen, if your people were being subjected to what the Palestinians were being subjected to, would you be a member of Hamas or not? Would you be a member of Hamas? That's a question that needs to be put to most of our Western brothers. Would you, during the time of the apartheid struggle in South Africa, not have been a member of the ANC? Was ANC not regarded as a terrorist organization at the time? Was Nat Turner, the great slave who fought against slavery in the 18th century in America and got up and started killing white people because he said black people have the right to exist as human beings, was he not regarded as a terrorist? He fought against tyranny. And he paid the price for it, but he made the point, and he began the struggle. During the time of slavery in America again, during the John Brown, a great white warrior, got up and said, I will fight slavery. He took his sons and his men, and he went to liberate black slaves. They fought against tyranny. Eventually, they won. Point I'm making is this. It doesn't matter what course you take. It doesn't matter what you think. The reality is the only thing that matters is that at the end of the day, evil cannot prevail over good. Light cannot be overshadowed by darkness. Surely light will prevail. And eventually Palestine will be free because it's a cause for the whole of the world, not just a cause for the Palestinian people alone. We're all involved now.
الآن يعني نتحدث عن الدور الإفريقي في دعم القضية الفلسطينية وتحديدا دولة نيجيريا. ما هو الدور الذي تقومون فيه بدعم القضية الفلسطينية خاصة على الصعيد الدولي في المحافل الدولية؟ ونحن نعلم أن نيجيريا من أول الدول التي اعترفت بالدولة الفلسطينية عام 88 وأيدت أيضا التصويت في الجمعية العامة بأن تحصل فلسطين على عضو في الجمعية العامة. ولكن هل هذا الدور كافي ما تقوم به الدول الأفريقية، مع أن الاعتقاد السائد عند الجميع بأن الدول الأفريقية مغيبة نوعا ما عن المشهد السياسي الدولي؟
Well, first of all, as a country, the country that I come from, Nigeria, has been very consistent in our position as a nation. That is that we believe in a peaceful resolution to the crisis. We believe in a two-state solution, and we have supported all the resolutions in the United Nations that have been reasonable and rational, and have recognized the right of Israel, the right of or the Palestinians to have a seat at the UN, and all the other international resolutions were passed there. Nigeria has been very consistent in its support for the Palestinian people in a measured and a responsible fashion. Now, that is the government of Nigeria. The overwhelming majority of the people in Nigeria, I can assure you, both Christian and Muslim, are horrified, mortified, shocked, are completely amazed and disgusted by the carnage in Gaza, and are disgusted by what has been going on over the last 75 years in Palestine and what the Jews have been doing there. And the last 11 months has galvanized this when we see what's happening. So the people of this country, the people of Nigeria, I assure you, the overwhelming majority are solidly behind the people that are saying morning, day, and night, free, free Palestine. They're going a step further. They're also saying from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. That doesn't mean we should wipe out Israel. What it means is that Palestinian people should have equal rights across the board as any Jew. So we are with you. And as each day passes, the support that the Palestinian people are enjoying in this country gets more and more. Let me tell you this. Had it not been for the fact that many of us as leaders in this country are reasonable and rational and restrained, we would have had protests in the streets every day against Israel, against the Jews. We would have had all kinds of, things would have happened here against the Jews, against the Zionist state, no matter what their propaganda machine is. I mean, their ambassador is always on television in Nigeria talking absolute rubbish and telling lies, just as they do on the international plane through the international television networks. But the propaganda is bad, like Trump has said. Their propaganda is no longer working. Their PR machine has fallen apart. We here in this part of the world understand what it is to be subjected to tyranny, and we know how to fight it. We will continue to fight it. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our brothers in South Africa. The South African government has taken the lead in this matter. They speak for Africa, we speak for Africa, and we're against these people.
ونحن نعلم أيضا الموقف النيجيري الثابت تجاه القضية الفلسطينية كما أطلق عليها الشهيد الرئيس الراحل ياسر عرفات عندما قال أفريقيا